For years, the title of Best Executive Saloon has been contested in Germany by 3 manufacturers: Audi with the A6, BMW with the 5 Series, and Mercedes-Benz with this, the E-Class. The previous generation E-Class fell short in too many areas. It was comfortable enough, but most of the diesel engines were noisy, interior quality wasn't up with the best in rivals, and CO2 emissions were just far too high. Step forward then this latest generation model, which looks to correct these areas. As you'd expect for a car that's largely designed to focus on company car drivers, there's a greater emphasis on diesels, and there's a choice of 2, a 192 brake horsepower 2.2 litre or a 3 litre V6 with 255 brake horsepower. Further down the line there will be a hybrid and of course a performance-based AMG version. The best seller by far will be the entry-level 2 litre diesel, as it's slightly more powerful than the equivalent engines in the BMW 5 Series and Jaguar XF. It pulls strongly from around 1500 RPM, and the standard 9-speed automatic gearbox kicks down promptly when you stomp on the accelerator pedal. The engine is smooth and quiet even when worked hard, and is better mannered than rival engines in Jaguar and BMWs. The more powerful V6 E350D is effortlessly strong, but it's the low down pull that really makes it stand out. It's also smoother than the E220D, and that's noticeable when the car's idling. It sounds more like a muted hum rather than an obvious chug. There are 3 distinct suspension setups. This E220D rides on passive steel springs as it stands, which sets the car up for a more comfortable ride. Its soft and spongy suspension wafts over imperfections in the road with ease, especially on the motorway, although the payoff is a fair amount of body lean along winding country roads. The steering is light and accurate, but there isn't much in the way of feedback. You just feel a bit detached from the whole process of driving. The top suspension is called air body control, and it comes as standard on the E350D, but it is a cost option on the E220D. As good as it is at reducing body lean through the bends and making high-speed ride more comfortable, it isn't quite as good at dealing with sharp-edge bumps such as potholes, which tends to send jolts through the car. Refinement is excellent though, with only a little wind noise at motorway speeds and only a muted background hum from the tyres. Just be aware that if you opt for the really big alloy wheels, road noise does become noticeably worse. Inside, the most obvious comparison is with that of the larger, more opulent Mercedes S-Class limousine. You get this giant display that stretches from right in front of the driver right across the dash. Now, it is an optional extra, but it's well worth it, as it puts all the information directly in the driver's line of sight. The fit and finish of the cabin is right up there. There's a mix of high quality materials, gloss black detailing, and most of the switchgear has a solid feel. The dashboard layout isn't quite as logical as the BMW 5 Series or Audi A6, but it's user-friendly, and anyone familiar with Mercedes systems will get to grips with it pretty quickly. Whether you opt for the standard or the optional multimedia system, all of the controls like the DAB, Bluetooth and phone are all controlled via this rotary dial. The driver's seat moves electrically, although it's a little frustrating that you have to pay extra for the adjustable lumbar support. One nice touch is the subtle lighting though, which runs across the dash, door panels and up the centre console. It gives the E-Class a flamboyant and stylish feel. The driver sits quite high, but the tall roofline means there's plenty of headroom, even on versions with this panoramic glass sunroof. The front seats also slide back a long way, so even tall drivers won't be disappointed with the legroom on offer. Moving into the back, and taller passengers may struggle when it comes to headroom. Legroom is fine though, unless the person in the front has a seat all the way back. And while there's shoulder room for 3, anyone who sat in the middle seat will have to straddle the central transmission tunnel. The boot is slightly bigger than that in the Audi A6 or BMW 5 Series, and it's big enough for a couple of large suitcases or a couple of sets of golf clubs. Mercedes E-Class is popular with company car drivers, which is why CO2 figures are just as important as price. With that in mind, it's a good thing that this E220D emits just 102 grams per kilometre of CO2, which is very competitive. However, it's worth noting though that the E-Class is priced slightly above many of its key rivals. We'd definitely steer clear of the V6 E350D if you're a company car driver though, because it has a much higher CO2 emission and is a lot more expensive than the E220D. Whichever engine you choose, the E-Class will retain its value well, which is good news for private buyers. But just be aware though that servicing costs are likely to be higher on equivalent Audis and BMWs. The Mercedes E-Class is without doubt one of the best executive saloons on sale. Granted, it's not a segment that's flooded with competition, but it is better than the Audi A6 and Jaguar XF. And you know what? It's not far off the BMW 5 Series either. The interior is smart and classy, the ride is comfortable, especially if you avoid the larger alloy wheels, and there's a lot of standard equipment. It's quite pricey though, and the E-Class isn't quite as rewarding to drive as some of the competition. For more information, search for the Mercedes E-Class on whatcar.com, and to keep up to date with all our latest video road tests, click subscribe.